I was gonna say, should we have Marissa go first? Because yours is short and brief. Okay. If you mind, if you don't mind. Just because then you can.
She wants to go.
What?
That's
But
fine.
you just
Go back to work.
I'd like for you to stay.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
I still say we should be paying you instead of them to do that. Just saying. I haven't been a fan.
Yeah.
So the item I have is a resolution regarding the population and housing allocations. Last year, September, October, the PAC were presented with the population projections and housing scenarios that FCS group, they're the subcontractor with us, presented. And so staff and the city's recommendation was the medium forecast for population projection and housing scenario D. We also recommended that one as well. So that information is on that exhibit that I provided as well. You'll see the medium growth forecast is 82,932. And then the state requires us to use their housing for all planning tool, which allocates the number of housing we need for each income level. So that information is on there as well. And they wanted the information from 2020 to 2045. So it shows 8,181 additional housing units. And then that exhibit breaks up how many of those would be for public supportive housing, emergency housing units, and then private market rate housing units. I'm bringing forward the resolution because it's good practice to kind of, get you're okay with it as we're going forward, because you never know what's going to happen in the process. So it's just good practice to do it, and I actually would have done it last year, but this has been a learning experience for me too, and I've been having to kind of learn from other jurisdictions, and
Listen, if you got it right, it'd be the very first time in 13 years that's ever happened. Matter of fact, if you even come close to getting it right, it'll be the very first time in 15 years.
hopefully.
It also helps solidify our numbers so that PAC members and others can't keep arguing with what, and they
Yeah,
just
right,
constantly
yeah.
change.
We have to have them.
Yeah.
It's used in everything we do. We have to, and you're gonna be wrong or you're gonna be right.
Yeah.
But
Pick something.
yeah.
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 I wish we could be accurate, but some things we just haven't been able to.
Yep.
And we have smart people working on it.
So I'm hoping that we put this on the agenda for April 29th to get the resolution
I have no
signed.
problem with that. Commissioner.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I think we all did.
Thank you.
And me too.
You had to- you had to leave
The
and
whole
then come
team
back.
came.
When's the last time you sat in on one?
It's been quite a few years.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
I was nervous. I was nervous when I saw you.
No. I'm just here for backup. Who has the whip?
Okay, good morning, commissioners. Okay, before we walk through our usual metrics, permit activity, processing time, SmartGov improvements, project updates, I do want to take a brief moment to offer a broader view, especially for Commissioner Carswell, who is new to the board. I stepped into this leadership role during a time of significant dysfunction in the Department of Community Development. This was before COVID, but the pandemic only exacerbated what was already a department in crisis. We did have a permitting software system, SmartGov, that was effectively unusable. We had no consistent processes, minimal documentation, and serious gaps in service delivery. Morale was low, trust was even lower, and permit turnaround times were averaging upwards of 160 days. And that did not even include the amount of time people at one point during and after COVID, had to wait just to get a call, to get an appointment, to then come in and submit. So that's not even included on those 160 days, so it's likely over 6 months.
Unacceptable.
It was brutal. It was very brutal.
A lot of it.
Since then, over the last 4 years, I'm working closely with a team that I'm incredibly proud of, and that not only includes these folks and Marissa, but there's 24 of us over in the Department of Community Development, and I can seriously say each one of them is awesome and functioning very professionally over there. That has not always been the case. So since then, we have reclaimed and optimized SmartGov. So now it supports all staff workflows with clear SOPs and documentation in place. And that doesn't only include Department of Community Development, but also environmental health and to a lesser extent public works, but we're continuing to work with both of those departments in our SmartGov implementation. We brought permit processing times down to under 40 days and currently are closer to 30 days with improved consistency across the board. We've launched and advanced a comprehensive scanning and records digitization project that supports public transparency and staff efficiency. We've created a culture of accountability, continuous improvement, and customer service that is now recognized and appreciated by the building community, Economic Development Council, Chamber of Commerce, and beyond. This progress did not happen by accident. It took a clear strategy, a lot of persistence, and a team that believed in the work. And so I'm here today not just to show the numbers, but also to remind you that the department you see now is a product of meaningful change, and we are not done yet. And I wanted to share, this is an email, I get these periodically from the public who has been working with one or more members of our team, usually giving kudos and sometimes calling out people specifically, but this is my very favorite one, and we received this on March 20th of this year, so it's really good timing. And there was some back and forth with one of the staff members and then this person, who I don't even know who this is, CDS. I don't know if it's company or an individual, but said, "We have nothing but a positive experience with everyone we have interacted with. It is unique to work with a staff that really wants to facilitate the process. It sounds crazy, but that just doesn't happen. We might find a few unique individuals in other jurisdictions, but top to bottom and side to side, your staff has been nothing less than outstanding." And it makes me feel like a proud mom, just because I happen to be the one in the director's seat, but there are many of us in that department that would be able to do so. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Josh.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us today. My approach here is just going to give you some updates in regards to the building side of the house there, which is going to include code enforcement, inspection program, the review program, the plan review program, excuse me, fire marshal, and then just some project updates just so you guys are aware. First off, I'll start off with our code enforcement. So currently we have two staff. One's kind of dedicated to the planning side of things, while the other one is dedicated to the building. However, they both kind of cover each other's backs and assist each other when needed, depending on the type of project and or just maybe even the size of it. Some of them are really easy for one individual to deal with, while other ones maybe require kind of a team effort and or also maybe other departments to get involved. Currently, in just regards to the building and planning, we have about 27 open cases or current cases as the beginning of the year. About 16 of those are related to planning enforcement topics, 22 are related to building, and about 9 are a combination of the two, along with, again, with environmental health and sometimes public works, depending on the topic. Some updates we have in regards to the enforcement is we have a new building code enforcement, which is Jeremy Norton. He comes well-tooled and experienced in this, which is shown when he got here. He hit the ground running and has really helped us kind of address our backlog and really make a presence for building code enforcement, which has been lacking, which has been much encouraged. And so I appreciate his approach, his demeanor, his compassion, along with his persistence in regards to addressing these topics. Because I think you kind of need all of that in order to gain the compliance. Some people don't like to meet with you or don't like you contacting them. However, again, the way he approaches it is appreciated. Enforcement team has met together every other Wednesday to encourage communication just within our office, again, planning and building along with environmental health and also solid waste, just to increase that communication. There's a lot of cases where it's everyone involved. So having that knowledge or bringing things to certain individuals' attention really helps come at it with a group mindset rather than we'll send you a letter and then this department sends a letter. That sounds a little nitpicky at times. So being able to come with kind of a geared approach and a full approach, I think, is the way to go about it. So very appreciative of those staff members and the work they're accomplishing and continuing to address the needs in that area. So again, if anybody in the public, if you have anything, please let us know and we will get people on that ASAP. Any questions about that or concerns or comments, just the code enforcement side?
Just one of the areas I've been trying to focus on and push on has to do with it's more environmental, but there's also code enforcement going on where people are building homeless camps,
Structures or
structures
something,
and
yes.
things like that. What impact can your department have?
Well, when it comes to the structure or the zoning, that's where we can step in, or it violates anything in Mason County Code, Title 14 and Title 15, I believe, is planning, correct? So sometimes it's difficult when it comes to that, because sometimes it's on no man's lands, if I may, or on the sides of roads or right-of-ways and so on. So we need to get in contact with the property owner in order to make that change. And so that's sometimes where we find difficulty doing that. However, there's got to be a way. Once again, communicating with environmental health and seeing where we can be tagged in to address our elements or provide our expertise, I think is where that needs to come from.
But also in that regard, if I'm correct in thinking about the encampment that you're thinking of, where there are structures, or it's not something that would ever be permitted anyway. It's a different situation than someone who's building a garage that needs a permit.
Right.
And they haven't gotten one, but it's essentially getting built. You know, they can modify if they needed to get it permitted properly. But something like a homeless camp where they're using materials and building structures, it's not something that could ever meet code or anything. So it's likely not something
More the solid waste,
Yeah.
I would say, probably is a better category for that to fall under and get more of the guidance and teeth in regards to address that. So that's where that collaborative effort, again, with environmental health, building and planning to address the situation, because it may not be in my wheelhouse, however, it could be in theirs or a combination. So once again, that kind of united approach.
I'm just trying to use all the tools
Agreed.
at my
Yes,
disposal.
and I think we can all agree they're showing up more and more and getting more clever, I guess, if lack of a better word, in regards to creating these eyesores and compounds. So yes,
Yeah. I'm concerned about the health of the people that live
agreed.
around there.
Yeah, in there and also around there, right? Yes,
Along with our shellfish.
correct. Yeah, that's a big, okay,
Thank you.
economic boost for us. So we need to keep that safe. So any other questions, code enforcement wise?
More something for the commission, so we can talk about it. So Pat, first of all, let me thank you for making it such a high priority in the work that you're doing since you become a commissioner, and I appreciate that we both do, I'm sure, because we piggyback off of any other motion that's happening to try and do our jobs better. With that, I want to throw something out to you, to both of you to think about. Again, I've been a long time. There are times where we've been able to have a greater impact, but what it is because we decide there's going to be an impact. One of the things that we could consider doing is bringing up 3-4 properties, for an example, that you choose, that I choose, that we want to have look at. We send staff out there from both the health department and the building department with the idea they're going to look at what it's actually going to take. Because on building, you may not be able to go after them for this, so to speak, but you can eventually put a do not occupy on it, and then we go after the enforcement of that. Same thing on the health, on the public health side. We, on those properties, we send them and they do it, and we start to knock a few of them off at a time. This is something we've done before, but if we tell our staff, this is what we want done, they do it, they get it done. But other than that, they've got 10 million things they're doing. So it takes direction from us. So I'd like you to consider that perhaps we put together a list Each one of us pick 3 parcels, and some of them may be the same. But with that, we sit down and say, this is what we want, and we send staff out to look and see what it would look like to have an impact on that property. And then we have them come back monthly to give us an update on those properties. And I'll bet you will be shocked on how much of it gets done. But again, we understand, and I understand you guys got a billion things to do. But if we're saying that's our priority, you guys have always been excellent for stepping up to take care of it. So I'd like the commissioners to consider that.
Or just those properties are brought to our attention, yeah,
Yes.
that's,
And
that's the
that's
key
what I
one too, is just,
typically
do.
you know, we don't know until we know, and then we can definitely, again, get the team together, and approach it in appropriate manner.
Yeah, but if we do it as a commission, they will bring us back as a commission. This is what we're doing on, this is how we're doing it. And if we decide to tell them that this is our priority.
So maybe we have a further discussion on this,
Yeah, I got
because I think it would be nice to bring in environmental health as well as public works too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if we decide we're gonna do it. I'd love to see us do it. And I'm not asking for it today. I'm just saying this is something we could look at.
Definitely need. So the next topic is going to be the building inspection program. Currently, we have 4 staff that are dedicated to conducting inspections out in the field. We try to dedicate 3 of them and leave the other one available to pick up additional inspections that may pop up or that are time sensitive, along with addressing plan review. Currently, we're scheduling anywhere from 25 to 30 inspections a day, depending on kind of the need, demand, and also staff availability. That number will probably increase with the nicer weather coming, and which is much warranted and anticipated. Let's see. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but currently we break up the county into areas in regards to inspections. Just based on the size of it, it's hard for us to cover all the area and do a decent number of inspections. So currently Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we serve the Belfair, Tahuya, Allen, Victor, Great View, Harstein Island, and kind of East Shelton. And while on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we service Hoodsport, Lilywop, Union, Matlock, and Shelton, pretty much the southeast and west portion of the county. And inspections range from everything from footings, slabs, framing. There's a whole array of inspections that we conduct on a daily basis. Our inspectors are currently using these wonderful tablets out in the field, which has been a great upgrade, excuse me. Number one, it just gives them a lot of information at their fingertips in regards to looking up past history, you know, other permit history, property information, and so on, to make sure when we're out there we can give the applicants a smooth and accurate and thorough inspection. So that's been really helpful. Along with that,
I just keep watching her face.
I know, I'm so happy. You don't even know.
along with that, our inspectors also use that to result the inspections real time, which is nice. Before we writing up corrections and then put it in a file, that file was then going to our clerical and then entering that data. So we've cut a lot of staff time and are doing it in real time. Those corrections or comments or results are then forwarded to the applicant or their contractor, along with they can access that on their portal. So it just kind of helps expedite that process, which we've noticed, because as soon as you result something, especially if it's a fail, that phones are ringing. So it's been very helpful, and also along with just making us more efficient in regards to staff time, along with just giving the inspectors as much information as possible, which is very helpful, and less phone calls into the office for them in regards to checking up on some stuff. We do have a few areas of concern in regards to the tablets, just based on service. However, that area seems to continue to shrink, which is appreciated, along with the inspectors have come up with a process, if that is the situation, of how to address that in still a timely manner. And then also some updates on projects that we have. The Lennar housing project up in Belfair is wrapping up. That's actually been a very pleasurable project. Lennar's been a great partner in this, and I think they provided a great product. If you haven't made a trip up there, I definitely recommend it. We have a T hangar that's going up at the Port of Shelton. That's that big new hangar. I think there's 14 available, I call them parking spots, lack of a better word, for the planes. And it looks really nice, and it sounds like they're interested in building more, so we'll see what comes with that. Currently, the port is in the permitting process for roughly a 29,000 square foot fabrication building. I believe they are replacing a building that burned down, I want to say 2-3 years ago, something along those lines.
Like the marijuana shop.
They picked up on
Yes, yeah,
Thursday.
but I think it's going to be a different use, I think fabrication, so
Oh, that's cool.
we'll see. Also, there's 6 buildings going up off Dayton Airport I believe they're going to be intended for grows. Right now, they're just the shells. So that's some good growth up there too. The Belfair Apartments Phase 2 is underway. I believe they are going to be constructing or complete construction on 5 additional apartment buildings. I believe it's roughly 89 units in total. Let's see, we have a various number of PUD projects right now, from updating reservoirs and substations, along with, again, up in the Belfair area, changing tenant from the old, I believe it was a Rite Aid, is now being permitted as a grocery outlet.
Oh, that's cool.
Edward Jones, again, up in Belfair, was the old Subway, is being changed into Edward Jones. Up in the Hoodsport area, we have another, I believe it was old Builder's First Choice, is being updated to an Ace Hardware. And then also in the Hoodsport area, we have that Sunrise Hotel that's going, a complete new hotel. So they're demoing the old one and building a new one. So that's some good projects that we're currently working on, and hopefully more to come. So.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, in regards to plan review, that program, as to Kell's point earlier, has come a long way in regards to its efficiency and our turnaround times. Again, we're roughly around that 30-day mark, which is a good number. However, always looking to improve that, and that takes kind of a group effort from building, planning, environmental health, and sometimes public works, since that's most of the departments that touch a permit. Not everyone, however, it just depends on the nature of the beast. Also, in regards to helping make our permit review more efficient, we've adopted and started using a program called Bluebeam, which has been very helpful, both for the efficiency aspect along with the product that we're producing out in the field. They're a lot cleaner. The handwriting, we don't have to do that anymore. We can type everything. It just looks a lot cleaner and more professional, along with just making it a lot quicker, which I think is key.
Well, and completely reducing the lost in translation. So
Yes.
having clerical staff enter in handwritten comments from 4 or 5 different inspectors has cut down a lot on people not understanding, because the person might enter in and it's incorrect, and then they're like, what is this that I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah, I don't have the greatest handwriting, so I'm glad we can type. Also, some updates on plan review. So a lot of our permits are available online, at least residential-wise. The 3 main ones being manufactured homes, garages, and single-family residence, which just went online, I believe, March 1st.
Yes.
So it's still new, still kind of feeling that out and adapting it and learning it to make it work better for us. But I think so far it's going okay.
It's going really well. It's really saving us. Now we can help, you can still make an appointment, and you can make an appointment the next day if you want, or you can submit online. And we find the people that are really techie with computers and stuff love that you can do it online. And then we still have the other people that want to do it in a more personal manner with us up at the front counter. But our time frame for the appointee is down like tomorrow. You can get an
same day.
appointment. Manufactured homes, I think that part, they're submitting the right documentation. We're able to review it and then immediately get it back to the departments for review. That saves a lot of time. We're no longer sending paper copies to building. We are now scanning them in or using a thumb drive. So everything they receive from the front counter or the permit specialists are going through, they're uploaded, and they do all the review on their computer screen. And like he said, with the Bluebeam, they have stamps and documents that they can just put on there, and the time frame was cut down like enormous. So now they have a lot more time to do the plan review. So yeah, so we were able to catch up.
It's been very nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And along with that, with those 3 main categories that we brought online, manufactured homes right now, about 21 are being submitted in person and 19 online, so about almost a 50-50 split there. So it's kind of utilized, in a fair share, I guess. With single-family residents, again, that just recently went online, roughly about a month and a half ago. Since January 1st, we have 27 in-person submittals with about 7 online. So again, we think that may catch up a little more, which is still being new, and also trying to get that word out. And then garage submittals is another almost 50-50 split. It's 13 in person and 22 online. So those are definitely dominated more online than in person. So I think that's been a very good tool, and it's being utilized and kind of just helping that process along. And we can facilitate more customers that way, just based on you don't have to have a time slot. It's I'm not gonna say free for all, but it's there. So that's been super helpful. Let's see. I think that's all I have on that one. The next thing too that we take care of in regards to the building, planning, and environmental health departments is the pre-application meetings. What those meetings are give developers the opportunity to come sit down with all the departments, building, planning, environmental health, public works, PUDs there, the water purveyor for that area is also there. Anyway, it gives us a good opportunity to sit down and tell them what's going to be needed to help the submittal process, the feasibility process, and everything in between. Some current proposals that we've had since the beginning of the year are storage units, because we always need more of those. Residential subdivisions are another one that come through there, so large lots, small lots, cell towers, churches and other structures. There's been one for animal shelter up in Belfair, a school remodel in addition, and then change in tenant projects. So it gives us a good opportunity to give them all the information needed to help the review process along with just the approval process. Solar farms, wind farms, it's been a few other ones. So those meetings are nice. Personally, for me, it's fun to kind of do the research and get to know the applicant and so on. So
when you get the permits or requests for like the wind farms or the solar farms, how are we affected by FSEC?
We can't, they have the opportunity to go through them or through us. And actually, on a different matter, Scott, Rudy, and I will likely come before the board. We'll first take it to PAC to do some development regulation amendments to include stuff on solar to start. We'll look at wind later. And then project proponents will have the opportunity to come through us, through the local, which I think is preferred than going through the state, but they'll always have the state. But if we don't have a process in place, they'd be forced to go through the state. So.
and it seems those entities, to your point, would prefer to come through the jurisdiction rather than go through the state process. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's slower or just it's
Yeah,
more
and it would
personable
be, yeah.
as well, probably is.
And
But
we'd have a little more control, but it would be, I think, a more efficient process for the applicant to come through the local rather than waiting through the state. I think is a longer
Yeah.
process, that's my understanding.
Yeah, 5317
yeah.
is the FSEC bill.
Which one?
5317.
And two, those entities are also very helpful in regards to like if you don't have regulation to assist with that too, which has been helpful just to help. They actually have a vested,
They do.
yes,
They do,
but
yeah.
it works
Oh.
for everybody.
What I want to make sure is that we keep that line of communication open with them because they can approve things without us even knowing.
Yep.
And so that's my biggest concern. I guess.
Yes, yeah. It's nice to know at least, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So that wraps up kind of the plan review and the permit application side of things. And the last one I have is the fire marshal. Randy is our part-time fire marshal. He's a great asset to the county and to our department. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's reliable, dependable, reasonable, and has really kind of helped bring attention to that department. Currently, he's working just the beginning of the year, once again, 16 total development permits and about 25 burn permits. The burn permits are shared between inspectors and fire marshal, just based on availability. But again, Randy's been a huge wealth of knowledge and a good asset. Hopefully he sticks around for a while, but we'll see.
please.
Some other things Randy has done, he's very good at attending meetings and promoting communication between local fire districts, which I think has been a big asset, just getting everyone on the same page and express their needs and wants and bring them to the table in regards to the partnership and things that we all deal with together. He also attends pre-application meetings like I noted before for future developments. Randy is also a committee member on a committee that's tasked with creating the WUI maps, which is the Wildland Urban Interface, which is going to be a code that's probably going to be required to be adopted this next go around. They tried it last cycle, however, the maps pretty much put the whole state in, which was a lot of uproar with that, and then it didn't really align with ecology and some other departments. So it's nice to have kind of an advocate, if I may, on there for us to hopefully make the maps work with us rather than against us. So that's great. And then also Randy is extremely great at educating the public on fire code requirements along with in the office as well. So again, a great asset, and hopefully he sticks around for a while.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, last but not least, is just staff stuff. To Kell's point earlier, the staff has been great. We've been able to achieve where we are today because of the collective ability and attention the staff has paid to it and their dedication to it. So I appreciate them 100%, and without them, we couldn't do what we need to do. Along with that too, just in regards to the building staff, between all of us, we have a collective of 29 certifications that just shows, once again, their dedication to the trade, to the public, and just making sure we're providing a good service and a safe community to everyone involved. So And then we do have OMB meeting coming up on the 29th over at Builders First Choice. Perfect. I recommend you attending that. That's a good opportunity for myself, along with other members of community development, to talk with building shareholders, contractors, homeowners, OMB themselves in regards to codes, litigation, upcoming products, or new products, excuse me, and so on. I think this is going to be our third or fourth one, and they've all been very fruitful in regards to just making face, meeting individuals, and talking out maybe any issues or concerns they have, along with providing them information on, when the code changes. The energy code's always a big topic, and other things like that. So if you're available to attend, I definitely recommend it. I didn't write down a time, but I definitely
think
will
it's 8
send that. I think you're right, yes.
And it's it's on a Tuesday.
Correct.
So is that 8?
I thought
Well,
we
the
normally
last one
have
was
these
at
things
5.
like 5.
I know, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's way better than
Elders.
5:30 in the
Yeah.
morning.
They're getting lazier, no, I'm just
The
kidding.
last one I attended there was 8, I believe.
Was
Yeah.
8? Yeah.
Yeah, that
So-
recent one.
So that's all I have. So that was a lot of information. Any questions, concerns, comments?
No.
No?
Well, comment, yeah. Wow. Yeah, from where we were to where we are now, and I've always said that Mason County rocks it, but absolutely, Mason County is rocking it.
I realized recently, I should realize this a long time ago, but that I do not do a good job of talking about how awesome the staff is at DCD, and so I really wanted to make sure that you guys understand that we take our job seriously over there, and we do work really hard, and we also have fun. I think a really cool moment for me was that, so several years ago, we implemented all staff, a monthly all staff meeting, and we do it from 8:30 to 9 in the morning, once a month. And it's mostly kind of fun, but also an opportunity to just kind of, kudos, shout outs, whatever, SmartGov update from somebody or something, but just to touch base. And at the beginning, when we have this wall of fun, that was Todd's idea, our former building official. And so each month we pick what the wall of fun is going to be. But at the beginning of those monthly meetings, they were kind of haphazard, and we didn't really, and I thought, I just want to keep doing this. It feels a little cheesy. I don't think everybody thought that it was a good point of their time necessarily, like we have better things to do. But it has gotten to where now we just all do it, and it's fun. And then the person who wins the wall of fun, everybody gets, if you participate, you get your name thrown in and you get drawn and you win $20, and then you get to pick next month's wall of fun. And so when I was out for the month of March or February, I think, I just thought, I never talked to Josh about the monthly meeting. They don't have to have it, whatever. It never came up. And then I learned they still did I was like, so it's not just me that wants to do it every month. They did it too. And they did I owed somebody $20 when I got that. But I thought that's really cool. I think it's fun. So we do try to have fun over there in addition to the work. But, to me, I've worked in a lot of places and I enjoy it. I enjoy my work more when I can feel like I have an opportunity to have fun with my coworkers, so.
And to be appreciated.
Yes. Morale. Big thing.
So you mentioned the Sunrise Hotel being torn down. Do you know how big is the?
It's bigger than the last one. I don't remember the number of units off the top of my head, but it's definitely bigger. And I think it's going to be 3 levels, with a 4th one being more for the, I'm not sure it's the owner and or the housekeeping unit. But yes, I want to say it's 99 units, if I remember off the top of my head, but yes.
That's cool.
But they're very limited on space up there,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
it's going to take a little longer to get things in and out of there and so on.
It's
but-
amazing to see, they're doing it half at a time. So they've got half the building gone, and then they're still renting out the other half
man.
to
Yeah.
keep kind of things going.
Yeah.
Because when you drive up there, that whole area right there is very tight.
Yeah.
And how they can get machinery and everything in there is really, I would love to watch to kind of see what's going on. But they got it pretty down.
Yeah.
And so they're able to stay open but still be working. So it's
Wow.
good.
Hopefully more hotels to come.
Yeah.
Right? That's just why I keep thinking lodging tax.
Yeah.
Heads and beds, let's do it.
That's right.
So, Pat, there's something that I've done throughout my life, I've worked real hard. I've studied the discipline of Six Sigma. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically an improvement modification scenario of training and certifications where it teaches you to remove bottlenecks, improve design, so on and so forth, all the way down to removing defects to get a better and bigger product. At one point, I was allowed or sent by the commission to go over and look at that department when things, this was before she was in charge, before any of that, when it was falling apart. And this person sitting in front of me, the hardest part is it didn't take me long to realize that a lot of those bottlenecks and a lot of those defects were occurring because of the structure that we were doing. We had a person running the shop over there that she would go up to the front and she'd be talking to the citizen. And she'd know what to do. And it was obvious she knew what to do because she had all this experience, she'd been there. Then she had to sit there and get the citizen to say it in a specific manner so that she could take it, walk it all the way around the back, all the way to the far wall back there, stand there like this, because I was following her, stand there like this while she waited for the person to finally get off the phone, then get off the phone, and then watch her, I don't want to say manipulate, watch her work this person to explain this is what we have, this is where we're going, and then getting this person to ask the right question, only to go back to the citizen and do it again and again. And at the time, my solution, one of the biggest solutions which we never truly implemented, would have been to allow for the staff that had all this knowledge and knew what they were doing to be able to send off some of the easiest permits, such as mobile homes and stuff like that for the most part, and have it still be advice and consent of their boss, so the boss could take it away if they had to. She didn't like the idea of doing all that responsibility, but I gotta tell you, I was so impressed watching her, and that's why you can see I'm still excited when I start coming in the room. The knowledge that is there, I hope that you guys find a way to
Bottle it up.
yeah, because that's why I was so worried when I saw her sitting there that she's coming
no.
to tell us she was retiring, because literally you'd be shocked how much could be approved just by having people with all that knowledge up there in the front.
The coolest thing I have to say that I have realized is I came in when we were paper, and people were turning in 2 sets of construction plans, and the building inspector or the plans examiners had to mark up 2 sets with pen and paper. And the time frame and the paper everywhere was crazy. And now to know that they're reviewing them on a computer screen, electronic stamping, we're doing some middle appointments online, and to go from where I started to where I am right now is like a miracle. It's like, well, whoever would think that the world would get like this, because I'm not very techie, but also I think the best thing we could have done was when SmartGov kind of went not so great, was getting staff involved to actually do the work. And we would have working lunches every Wednesday for I don't even know how long it was. And we went through every single case in SmartGov and fixed it. It took a while. And so that's why like manufactured home went online first, because they couldn't go online until we fixed it, because people wouldn't have known what to do. So that part and the communication now that we all have is just awesome, because there's always somebody who can do one thing better than the other, and we kind of help each other. So yeah, but it's been amazing.
And I think it took Janie a little bit longer to maybe get on that train.
Yeah, I did. I have to say.
But having her involved in that process of fixing it and that institutional knowledge of no, that's not going to work because this, that, and that, and she's looking at a bigger picture versus.
Because I was trying to I was trying to put my head back into the public, like, okay, they're going to come in. How are my poor people who I help at the front counter going to know to upload something? And how are they going to know that they have to put the site plan here and here? I was kind of I was just worried a little bit about that
But
part.
Jeannie you had my aha moment of how SmartGov, and it was a cluster, so we're like, and I'm not techie either, so I'm like, we're trying to figure out how to fix it, where to even start. But it was you thinking, if I were paper and I had to be now I'm digital, what are all the things and the tabs, which you guys won't get, but I'm like, oh, okay. And then, it just took a while.
And that was one of the biggest bottlenecks also. Even after she would do what she's done, she could have got it all the way through, but she wasn't allowed to. So what she would do is she would take it in the folder and put it in somebody else, and then start it all over again. Then it went to the next one and started it all over again. It was like,
getting rid of paper, I have to say right now, like when I push the button and send it out for review, I have nothing. It's like I have no paper in front of me.
Missing.
It's just there. And then it will come back and notify me when it's ready to be issued, and I can issue it. But that's because I have to trust it. And some days I'm like, okay, it was hard. It was really hard, but it's working great. It's
she's
great.
the reason I started bringing food over there. only to find out after like 3 years when I finally brought something downstairs, they were never sharing with the
No,
downstairs.
downstairs doesn't
I
share
always
with us.
assumed, I was always thinking I'd bring extra. They never shared. They're looking like, what are you talking about? We never get any food.
Yeah, yep. We didn't even know,
Thank
but
you.
now, yeah.
Thank you
Yep.
for all you've done.
Oh, you're
for
very
our county.
welcome. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have been here so long. So, yeah.
And I kind of came just in case you had questions about our scanning project.
Yeah. Or
It's
the big
working.
ones, the big maps and.
Waiting to hear back about that grant still. I believe it was gonna be June when they made a decision on that. But just getting all of our regular paper files, again, like it helps with this process of
Yeah.
somebody comes in and they can just look up that file without having to go get it. And then it's available to everyone as well. So building, planning, permit text, environmental health, everybody can look at it at once.
Very helpful.
About a third to a half of the paperwork that we've gotten rid of and tossed away has literally just been garbage, essentially. Transitory records, extra copies and printouts of things that we don't need. And so when I do the math that says we've gotten rid of 6,000 pounds of paper, that is about half of that was literally, it never needed to be printed. So
The floor of that building is
Yeah.
very much appreciated.
And we don't make file folders anymore or anything. The minute we issue something now, it goes downstairs and gets scanned.
Pat, when I walked
That's
around
so
those
cool.
things, I honestly was afraid that my extra weight was gonna be what it took to go down to the next floor. It was literally filled, and each one of those things were filled to the brim with
Yeah.
paper, and you know how.
And boxes
I'm
on
you
top
tried
of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've tried to lift a small one, the whole wall was, luckily they had it right next to the wall.
Yeah.
If it had been in the middle of the floor, it never would have survived.
yeah, it was on the wall for a reason.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. I walked over there the other day and it's,
So much more
It's
room.
amazing.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look like the same place,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
I definitely felt
Yeah,
like I
great
would
job.
walk a little harder when I was walking through the room.
yeah, great job.
Well, thank you,
That-
commissioners.
Yes, thank you.
No,
That's
thank
it.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to get calls all the time. I don't anymore.
That's good. And if you do, send them our way.
You normally have like a person from a vendor, if you buy an application, you've got vendor support. We've never really got good vendor support from SmartGov, and so Kell actually put an individual in charge of it within the team that is actually making sure that these workflows.
Yes,
work
Julie, and she's
correctly.
been
But
a
what do you expect?
godsend.
Right while we were buying it, it was bought out by a company called Dude Solutions.
Solutions.
Dude Solutions.
Yeah, right after we bought it,
Yeah,
right
that's
after we
right.
paid all the money, it
Yeah,
was a
that's
different company we signed up with.
Yeah.
And then Dude Solutions.
Dude
bought it.
Solutions.
It's now it's gone through several even
Granicus
since.
now.
Yeah, now
That's
it's
probably good.
Granicus,
Yeah.
and
Which is
Granicus
good.
is another government permitting software system, and so it's, I think it's improved in our, Julie still works with them and has gotten some
Working so much
changes.
better.
As a commission, when they
Sorry.
came and told us, literally around the table was like, oh, no. Because it's been a lot of money.
Yes.
A lot of
Thanks, commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa. Madam Treasurer,
Morning.
how are you? Yeah.
Well, after all that good news about how well things are going next door, I'm gonna come and ask you for some money or some changes and hopefully take this on my own. So in October of 2022, I submitted a request to Human Resources and to ask me for reclassification of multiple positions within my office, and hoping that they would be included in negotiations at the time the contract was opened. That did not happen. And after almost 2 years of delays, Human Resources asked me and myself have reached a consensus. However, there are 2 positions I believe need to be at a higher range. So I'm here today and I'm hoping that Mary is on Zoom land to answer any questions as well. I put my request in a letter to you. I hope you all had a chance to read it. It comes with price tag of about $21,000 to $30,000, and for current expense. There are 2 ranges that Mary and I disagree on. One is the cashier deputy collections currently, which would be a customer service specialist 3. In the new proposal, HR is proposing that at a range 20. I had originally proposed this at a range 22. This position was always on par with the finance accounting deputy position, which is being proposed at a range 22. And then, excuse me, the finance accounting deputy IT billing specialist currently, which would be a senior accounting technician. HR is proposing that at a range 24, which doesn't currently exist in the ASME contract. I am proposing a range 26, and that is because this position is consistent with those duties performed by the administrative data technician in the assessor's office at a range 26. I know human resources rationale was to maintain 2 steps between each of the ranges. I just feel these 2 positions fit better and are the treasurer's version of what those positions are in the assessor's office and accounting office. I believe the budget impact for 2025 can be absorbed by my current year's budget. I may need to move some money from operations to salaries. And if there is a need to move, if there is a need for a budget amendment, then I would come in at the end of the year with the lowest possible ask to make that happen.
Madam Treasurer, you won't be here.
I will hopefully have, passed all this information on to my successor. And so that's a possibility, so. Mary had said I would need to come to you and bring my request forward to the commissioners for approval. What I don't have is the memorandum of understanding with ASME here with me yet. But I'm here to have that discussion with you and to see where we can move forward in the future. I have always maintained my budget at the lowest possible level.
Yes, you
With
have.
my expenditures, with my staffing.
In 13 years, I would attest to that over and over again.
It's been a long and frustrating process working with HR to get to this point. And I hope that you would take my recommendation and move forward with it to the benefit of my staff and the county as a whole. I've come to you before and told you how wonderful my staff is. I certainly can't do my job without them. As you can see, none of the department heads can do it without their staff. They're an important, not just to the treasurer's office, but the county as a whole. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have, garner any information you may still need to move forward. I was asking to maybe have this come before the board for approval and acceptance to start on June 1st.
So, Madam Treasurer, you've been around, you remember when this was so crazy before we implemented the reclass designations, how crazy it was and how we went. One of the problems is we did create it, and by creating it, we stand by it until we change it. With that being said, I actually, even though it's a tough year of HR's going down their list through each of those positions.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and I know you've worked on this for a long time.
I've worked on this for a very long time.
Yeah, we've had discussions on this too, but I'm glad you didn't give up.
Thank you. I would never give up in whatever form this came back to you in. I would hope that, there was a benefit to my staff and the county as a whole, whatever you choose to
If you didn't
move
make
forward.
it fit, I don't think you would have.
So
So you must have made it fit, because it wasn't always that way.
It's taken a lot of discussion, it's taken a lot of back and forth, it's taken a lot of understanding what the staff does, why I'm asking for the 2 positions to be at where they are, and so forth, because it is important to have like jobs or like duties be compensated as such, so and make it forward. So I'm not sure what you need from me. I had set this for an agenda date of the 29th, but I think if you are going to
I don't know,
approve
I
it, we would need to have the memorandum from Neary for that.
Absolutely, yeah. So we
Okay.
are in the middle of a contract year, so we would need to get approval from the union, and Mary's on. Do you
Hi,
have?
Mary?
What was your question? It's hard to hear you all in there.
Memorandum from the union?
Yes, so we would need to do an MOU to adjust the salary range in the ASME schedule, addressing the retitling and have them sign the new position descriptions and all the employees sign their new position descriptions as well.
Do you need that before we can move forward?
Yes,
Okay, how long do you need in order to make that happen?
Tim needs time to review MOUs, the union needs time to sign, so I would say probably the first meeting in May would be more feasible.
13th.
I'm supportive of that.
All right.
Yep.
Perfect. Mary and I can work together if necessary to get that happen, make that happen. You need me on that, Mary?
I'll handle it for you.
All right. I appreciate your time this morning. Again, I hate coming to ask for these types of things, but I know it is really, really important.
I also want to put out there, though, that you also listened to us when we were working a bunch of stuff and asked you to slow roll because we couldn't at that time. So you've always been there for your staff, but you've also been there for the county. I'm not confused. None of us are.
Thank you very much.
You do a great job, and so does your staff.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. All right, Public Works, Loretta.
Alrighty.
We're running a little bit behind, but we are running a bit behind, so.
Yeah, if you do it
No
on short
chit-chat.
form, I'll move it forward.
We could do it short form if you
Yeah,
like.
I'll move it forward.
If you've read it and you're okay, let us know.
I've read it.
All right.
Okay.
So we have two action items. Approving the road vacation 421 and also the recommendations from the hearings examiner on 423. And we're asking that both these be placed on the action agenda.
Good.
I'm good with it.
All right. It was that
Easy
simple,
peasy.
Lovejoy. Sorry. We're going.
Made you come all the way down to do
We're
that.
going short form today.
That's because you're working so good, it's just not.
That's right.
Not to add to it, just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up that the road vacation 423 on Johns Prairie Road, that is related to the parcel that
Property
is
sale.
Yes.
for sale. And I think that now that once this actually occurs, then the sale will go through and complete.
This was the last piece needing to happen.
Last piece of the puzzle.
Yes. Yeah. Then we have a discussion that Mike scratched on the agenda afterwards. Go for it, Mike.
You got your pace and I got mine. We'd like to close the road, Matlock Brady, milepost 24.61 for a culvert replacement.
What are you doing to us?
And we'd like to do that on Monday,
Not this Monday.
the May 12th to Tuesday, the 20th. This project was a culvert replacement. It was a 36-inch diameter pipe to a 16-footer, so big fish can get up into the hayfield.
Almost to Norca, but not quite.
But what we've done is we've convinced fisheries that since there's no water and there's no fish, that we could accelerate it. And if we can get it in before the paving projects on Matlock Brady, they'll be able to pave over that section 2 and tie into what we did last year.
What are you doing to make sure that people can get around? How?
They can get around on Boundary Cutoff Road to Deckerville. So it goes into Grace Harbor and comes back around.
How long of a,
It'd be about 7 days.
how long of a time?
Detour.
Oh,
Yeah, detour. How long, yeah?
it add probably a couple more miles.
That's all done?
Sure, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just going east-west and the north-south the same distance, so it's just coming back.
I'm supportive.
And of course,
Appreciate it.
the reader boards are probably the best outreach for us, so we'll get that out. So folks that are regularly commuting will have good heads up there. But we'll follow the other
So we're
rules.
awarding, the opening bid of the one paver is on the 28th, the other one is on the 2nd. But then there'll be a time frame in between there that before they get their paperwork ready, we can get this culvert in, and then they'll be able to pave it hopefully.
One smooth.
When was your proposed date to closure?
Between
12th and 20th.
Yep.
the 12th,
May 12th and 20th?
Monday, May 12th to the 20th.
And then you'll announce it and get it posted.
Published and all those good things.
And on the signs.
Yep.
Electronic signs.
That seems to work the most.
Yeah, right?
It's gotten to the point now when they're not there, people are pissed.
Yep.
They wanna know why they didn't have more of a heads up, and to me, it was like that just this last year, remember?
When it
So-
got heisted.
Well, yeah.
Can we follow up with this on the action agenda? We normally do action agenda for road closures. Thank you, Mackenzie, for the reminder. So that would be
29th?
the 29th is our next meeting, so if you get that for that.
Yep.
We'll- We just wanted to make sure we get it enough so we can get the notice out.
Yeah.
And get it in before they start paving. I don't wanna we can't affect them, so.
Cool.
Good work.
How big a fish?
Our guys can do it.
Travel.
Orcas?
Yeah.
Can I jump in front of one part of it you're gonna hit next? Our staff was kind enough, they went out there and talked to the people out there in Union. They're spectacular, they always make me so proud when they do it. Although the commission had talked about it being a crosswalk and stuff, right now it just doesn't make sense for where that is, so the staff had a better idea. I think a better idea, and the people that were there thought it was a better idea, and that is to have speed sensor signs on both ends of it with warnings come around. Because even if we did a crosswalk, which we already said we would support, it would have to be down the road, so it did make sense for people going by. They don't want to completely give up the idea of it, because in the future maybe, but our staff had that recommendation, and, but I'm very simple, if the commission says one thing, that's what we do, unless we say it's okay to do another. Would you guys be okay with the idea of them moving forward with the speed sensor signs on that, that area? And also looking to see if they can work with the state to have them remove part of a tree or something.
And do we have funding available to buy the
Yeah,
signs?
we were talking about taking it out of the new growth for economic development, is what we had agreed to before.
That's right.
That was before you came, originally, sorry. I saw his squint, no, before you came, Kevin Schutte had, was there at the time, and I still think it's the same. I think it's better, I honestly do.
Across that road,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it no matter where you put a crosswalk, doesn't mean people are gonna cross it, just like that deer thing. Why do people keep putting deer crosswalks in the middle of town? I've hit 3 times. Are you guys comfortable with that though, or with the staff?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we'll move forward.
What do you got on 302 signage? I don't know.
And then 302, I sent an email earlier this commissioners, I know you've been busy, so you probably haven't looked at it. But it has a map that shows where the state has permanently reduced the speed to 25 miles per hour. And that's the section that Commissioner, you were concerned about, where there'd been quite a few accidents. And that will remain in effect until the time that DOT gets funding for slide repair work. And that's been very slow and not coming, so
Okay, but this is before the slide repair. This is way before the slide.
this is that same stretch of road that you were pointing south of Victor. So I think it's Highland is the cross street, and then down to where it makes that hard 90 over to Pierce County. So it is that same stretch of highway there.
And I think that they've already got it reduced.
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
25, I think.
Yes.
That's-
Yeah, it was posted as a warning originally.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, the 25, and now they're making it an actual posted speed limit that is enforceable.
And maybe they can make sure it covers before that curve, and we can still talk about the flashing lights of some sort. So we gotta do something. We're gonna lose people there, but aside from that, the poor neighbors. I get calls, and I've shared it with them. I'll get calls where they're pulling them out of their car over and over again. It's crazy, and the last time, it breaks my heart, because when they're calling me and they're leaving a message, I think I shared it with you one time too, it's heart-wrenching, and it's the same place, and it's, again, you can't legislate stupid, we just said that before, and it is stupidity, but we gotta try to do something, because it's just too great.
Check out that map.
I will.
It's pretty close, detail on there where that is. If it's north of that or south of that,
I'll drive down
Let us
there
know.
tonight. Oh, no, chemo. I'll drive down there tomorrow.
And then they're also reposting the intersection. Dave has been working with DOT, I can't say how long on that, but they have it on their order to get signs to repost the intersection. So that's in the works as well.
And Dave also looked at the idea, we had a conversation on the phone, just to let you know, after they came to us regarding the Spencer Lake, I personally was like, I don't see how to do it. Literally, because even if you put a pole there, we're setting up a situation where somebody's gonna get in an accident and stuff. So I was talking to Dave, and he's looking into the idea of just having maybe 4 marker lights that are solar, and that's it, low level, just 4 that are constantly as a warning where the thing is, and he's looking into it for pricing and stuff like that to see. But I would be supportive of something like that, but I really had a hard time. They kind of convinced me when they were here that last time, and I'm curious how you guys felt, that it's not the best thing to do, if I wanted it. I don't think I want it anymore. But
No, I trust you guys. You're my SMEs. So whenever you say, yeah, it may not work, it may not be a good idea, then typically you're right, so.
Yeah, I've just heard him complaining about is, because you come over that hill and wintertime, you can't see. So if there's some way to get them to slow down.
well, Dave pulls this off, I think it will have somewhat an impact. I don't know how it can, because it'll constantly be a lot low level, just let you know it's happening, it's right there. We haven't seen him before. It was something we talked about. We're not sure that it's even doable because he wanted to put the solar into the ground, but he has it in the back of his mind. He thinks he can remember one, so he's looking to see if he can find something. You were there, did that accurately?
Absolutely. And then I sent some reference material to Dave from,
Do you think it's gonna be possible with what you found?
I believe it is possible. We've got to do some research about reliability,
Yeah.
all those good things, but at least we've got a bunny trail to follow and we'll go from there. Yeah. So that's all we had, I think, for follow-up items and discussion. Anything else, Mike?
I'm good.
Yeah. And then just a quickie, it is National Volunteer Week. And I want to do a shout out. We're sending letters of recognition, but we have our Adopt a Road volunteers. We have 10 active groups comprised of all kinds of folks that are out doing good things, picking up litter on stretches of our county roads. And of course, we have our tip cap members who have been in existence for a very long time, right, Commissioner Netherland? So we have 6 members there, and our SWAC members 7. So we're super, super grateful for the time and volunteerism that folks put in and make the county a better place. Very appreciative. And then also it's National Work Zone Week, so follow up to all our fun construction activity and things that we're, just a reminder that pay attention, don't be distracted drivers, focus. Our folks are out there doing good things, and not just ours, but our PUDs and other utility providers, and we want to make sure that we take good care and pay attention during work zones and not create havoc. Keep safe. And that's all I got.
Okay. Anything?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the updates, and thanks for coming out there. You guys are pros. Appreciate you.
They
Thank
are
you.
great. Do good things. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. All right. Mark.
Yeah.
So
you got
Rocky,
Janet
next time
that's
she
on
puts the chair
start.
in.
Okay, so
Go for it.
I have the first item. It's the .09 Rural Sales and Use Tax Award Funding Process. So in the past, this process has been limited and pretty informal. Typically, I send an application to the EDC and then they fill it out, send it back, and then I circulate it to the city and the port districts, which is required by law. And so Mark and I met with Kevin Schutte with the EDC and talked about expanding this process and making it a little more formal. And so before we work on that anymore, I just wanted to bring it to you and see what your thoughts were and see if you are okay with us maybe sending a letter out to the SEDS list people. And
I personally would rather not. I know, I see you shaking your head yes, but I want you to know, I don't, for several reasons. One, it's come to help us over and over again over the years. If you set up a process like that, especially through another entity like an economic development council or whatever else, I guarantee it will be spent, because that's what it's doing. I'd rather, when they need it, they apply, they go through, it's worked. It has to automatically be on the SEDS list to be eligible for it already. So I myself, I don't see why we would. Sometimes you need more money than just a few dollars here and there. And you can't have it if you pocket it out a few dollars everywhere. So I just personally, I would rather it's not, but I'm not gonna stand against it if the two of you decide you want to move forward.
So last year it was 672,000.
yeah, so that's how much we have planned for 2025, and 458,000 of that typically goes to the Belfair sewer, and they aren't going to need that most likely. Do you think that they'll need all of that this year?
That's what I'm still talking with Public Works about that. So, our Belfair sewer, we've continually paid out of real estate excise tax and .09 funds. In the past, I believe that the .09 funds were used for the operational disparity. So the REIT money was going to pay off the debt, and the .09 funds was covering some of the debt costs, but also covering the shortage in terms of it cost us more to operate the utility than we were collecting in utility revenues. Now that they're getting all of the Olympic Ridge and Olympic View development up there, I'm hopeful that that operational deficit is going to be much smaller than it was in the past. And so I've asked them, would they still need the 450,000 from .09 funds?
What do we also have currently going out, because we've used this fund here recently to help Shelton, and then we have a long-standing agreement with the Shelton sewer system.
Yeah.
That should be coming close.
So we have 115,000 that goes to the EDC this year. That's for their staffing. And then we also have 105,000, and that's on that 20-year
Yeah.
loan.
It used to be 200 and something,
agreement.
then went down 180, and then, so
Yeah.
now we're down to,
It's a little, I think this year is about 107,000, and next year is the last year, 2026 is the last year of that 20 years, and that's about 105,000 for next year.
now we
So-
also did another one though. Was that just for 1 year? So it's
Yeah,
not
that
gonna
was
be on,
1
it's
year.
1 year, it's not gonna be on this one.
That was 1 year, and they didn't expend all of the funds. They ended up, I can't remember exactly how much they expended, but they didn't even expend half of what we awarded to them. So I don't know why.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
When do you need a decision on this? Because I know that there's a bill, it's the 1791, that combines REIT 1 and REIT 2 so that they both have the same use. You can do the same thing with each one.
So this is Fund 103, so it's completely separate from the REITs.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because we do use REIT funds for other things, and some of this was REIT also, right?
Well, the intent of this .09 funds is really economic development. So last year the legislature, it had a sunset clause in it, and it was scheduled to sunset. They extended that out to, if I'm correct off the top of my head, 2052, I think is the new sunset date on it. For the .09
Oh,
funds.
yes, yeah.
So this is a rural sales tax where we're actually take a credit off of the state's portion of the sales, 6.5%. We're able to retain that for economic development within our area. So that was the intent behind it. We've always used it for, providing some of the basic services that are expected in some of our urban areas. So.
Yeah, and we're collecting over $1 million each year, expending a little over 600,000 each year. So that fund balance is over 3.2 million right now. We just thought, it would be maybe a good idea to extend the letter to the SUDS list eligible applicants, but that doesn't mean that you need to.
Yeah, I don't mind a letter going out to the applicants, that doesn't bother me. It's the idea of running through any other entity. We need to stay with what we're doing, that we decide what's really needed. Because a big project, being able to do it is everything, because if you can't take advantage of the opportunity, then you didn't have an opportunity. You don't have the money to actually do it.
So we would retain the, how do I wanna say this,
The awarding control.
right,
Correct.
Yes.
right, and the EDC would not have that, they would just, what would be
Right.
the fund, or what would be the direction that the EDC would take? How would they?
So in my mind, I was picturing, and I think Kevin and Mark were also picturing the EDC, possibly, correct me if I'm wrong, the EDC maybe scoring the projects initially and then bringing them to the board, and for you to either score yourselves again or use their scoring as your criteria to award.
So would this be the EDC board or just
It could
EDC
be
staff,
whoever.
or both?
Yeah, I believe so. So the scoring criteria that EDC would use is gonna be laid out to applicants, to show this is what it looks like, right? So the EDC puts together monthly, administrator meetings, and we invite, our school districts, our PUDs, the city, and we come and talk about economic development opportunities within our area, which is super nice, and we also identify some of the hurdles for economic development to occur. So I feel like I'm interested in how the EDC actually scores it. It's just additional information for the commissioners. It's not gonna tie you to it at all. The commissioners still have ultimate authority on how much, if any, you give and where you actually give it. I would just like the commissioners to have additional information about some of these projects that are on the SEDS list, to be able to say, here's the potential benefit for the county as a whole, from an economic development perspective.
If it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck. We set it up as a granting process. All the money will be used because that's what happens on a granting process. There's just no way around that.
Only if we allow it.
Yeah, but we will. That's what we do. Just like the ARPA funds or anything else. It's easy to say we won't, but once you start that process and you turn it into that to where they're all coming out, and we're sending out for that, it will fill up, they will use it. That's what.
Are you thinking that we're saying all of it's available?
What do you?
No, we're asking the commission to say, if you wanted to do this project, how much would you be willing to advertise for this use?
Yes.
So if, let's say you say, all right, well, we're gonna spend, we're recommending that we use $150,000 for this. Maybe we say, 2026 is the last payment for, the city sewer system. And so then what does that look like going into 27? Does that free up that revenue source to then offer it up as a economic development stimulus money, I guess, for this?
Okay, so this thing is already set up in a specific manner for anybody to be able to come and ask for that money, and then we decide. If you start setting up a certain amount, we're gonna do this much, we've never done that before. If we start doing that, we're starting up a granting process. And we're backfilling the granting process with the money that we're saying. And eventually it becomes the whole thing. Again, history just repeats itself over and over again. And we did it all with ARPA, we've done the same thing. I just like the idea of being able to use it when we need it and when other people need it, like City of Shelton or whatever, when a big project comes up. We've also helped others in the past, like the Port of Grapeview, where we gave money to them. And years back, it was the Port of Allen received money for their bathrooms, because that was economic development. If you start the granting process, you will grant out the money, because that's how.
I guess I kind of had a different way of looking at it. It's not our money, and so investing it in our community is what we should be doing. don't know, I kinda like the idea of the scoring system. And then we still have final approval, final say.
Personally, I need a little bit more time to look into this, because this is like, I'm not grasping the entire concept here, so.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, and Kevin Schutte did send in his comments. He wasn't able to be here for this briefing, and so I wanted to make sure that all of you received those comments.
I don't believe that I did. Should have.
Yeah, we can definitely bring this
Bring it
back.
back. When do you
Yeah.
need, when do you need,
This is
when do we
what-
need to know for sure?
Just to,
I mean, there isn't really a drop dead.
the SEDS process is something that happens every year. So I think that this was a request to the commissioners. Do you want to actually designate an amount that you would want to dedicate towards this project? If the answer is no, that's fine. They still go through the SEDS process. We still are required to produce a SEDS list. And if individual entities want to pursue funding, they can come like they always have and ask for that on the side. So yeah, didn't intend for it to be a guarantee. It just was, how do we provide the commission with more robust information regarding the information that's submitted as SEDS potential projects, so that you could understand the impact from the county as a whole. But be happy to meet you with you on that, Pat, separately and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I can appreciate that, but no matter how you look at it, currently, that's not how it's done. So if we set it up as a process, it's gonna go through the EDC to do it, and they're advertising it out, and they're gonna score it and stuff like that, which we've never done before with
Right.
09 funds, then we are setting up a process to just, everybody every year gonna be start coming after those dollars instead of how it's been used historically. It'd be the one big change is it will turn into the yearly granting process. And then we get things that, in my opinion, that may not be as important.
So I need to confirm something with you, Randy. So I definitely hear clearly, no, you were not interested in putting a dollar amount out there. But now what I hear you saying is that you do not want the EDC even doing scoring or anything like that.
Because it's both. If you go out and you do scoring, you're going out and you're asking, it's all connected. You can't have one without the other. If you're gonna have scoring, that means you're going out and you're asking for people to apply to come and take this money specifically in a way we've never done before. Then we're asking the EDC to score it on our behalf. And then it comes back to us for us to allocate out. And
Okay, thank you
so
for
no matter
that.
what, that's all the same process.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
When the EDC has never been a part of that, except for just whether it's on the SEDS list.
Okay.
And I believe how this came up maybe initially, I don't know how, like what Kevin's, how it came to be, but I do know that he had said he got comments from outside entities that the letter was confusing, because it's just asking for comments. So, I mean, I could just change that letter to the city and the ports, to be a little more.
Are you talking about the letter we send out when somebody puts in an application?
Yeah.
That is all it is comments, right?
What was that deadline?
Yeah, that's all it is,
Jen?
because we still make the decision.
There really isn't a deadline. We set the deadline ourselves
Okay.
to be inclusive in our annual budget. So I just send the EDC an application, usually in July, and they fill it out, and I bring it to the board, send it out with the letter, circulate it to the city and the ports, and then typically there's not many comments, and then we come back and adopt before the budget is adopted.
So I believe that the EDC has already sent out information asking people to do SEDS, to submit SEDS projects by May 1st.
Okay.
think so too. I think he's.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I was thinking, I just got a
Oh.
reminder, because
Yeah.
we actually submit projects for the SEDS list too, out of our public works.
Right, we just talked about it
Mhm.
last week.
Yep, yeah, so, yeah, that's, I mean, it's, we have not made any decisions on this are ideas that we're bringing to the board to talk about your level of interest. So Pat, would be happy to sit down with you and give you some more information on that, and it's definitely a special revenue fund that's used for a specific purpose, and yes, thank goodness we've had it, because it saved us on Belfair Sewer, so.
And the Shelton Sewer and other stuff over the years.
Yeah, little projects here and there for ports, right? So the ports had us help out with some of their boat launches and bathrooms and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, so any other questions on that, guys?
Nope.
No? Okay. So Nicole, do you want to talk about our screening policy over in our courthouse?
Yeah, so what I submitted for requester to implement is a proposal for a security checkpoint random screening policy. We worked with the courthouse security, talked to them about this. This is something that this policy will codify something that, you know, we typically have, sorry, talk to Kelly. Kelly might be able to, anyway, I developed this policy based off of Homeland Security's processes, and it essentially takes out the human error from things and adds a randomization process where you're using a computer generated, like a random.org to create these numbers and develop this random process that develops, that creates random screening process for only specific, for employees only. The intention is that all employees are supposed to have their badges on their person and visible when they go into security checkpoint areas like in the courthouse. And so as long as you have that displayed and visible, you know, you'd go through the process. If your number happened to come up, you'd go through the screening process just like non-employees do. And then if you don't happen to have your badge on your person, you would be treated as a non-employee essentially, where you would automatically have to go through the screening process. Yeah, we did talk to the courthouse security. They are totally on board with this as well, and we're just trying to, like I said, codify it into a policy.
I think it's a great idea. I was at the meeting and it's needed. We've got to have some sort of system available for people to cut through or as they come through. And so I think it's a great idea, and I like that you're getting it from Homeland Security.
Correct, yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
you can kind of trust them.
Yeah, and we would, the idea would be once we, if we were to implement this policy, we would send it through an EOGov Learn or learning management system. So all employees would be notified of it and sign off that they acknowledge that this is a policy.
Right. Wasn't it district court that said that they already do something like this?
District court and the clerk's office already come through security. It would just be the random person that gets checked, let me say, more thoroughly or whatever now.
So randomly, they pull off somebody to the side and wand them, make sure that they.
And this is specifically for employees.
This is specifically for employees.
That they would be included in that random process.
Right.
So I think that you get complacent sometimes when employees are coming through security, that, you know, you feel like, oh, I don't have the same expectation, right? I'm an employee, so, no, that's not the case. As an employee, you're expected to go through the same process that an individual from the outside coming into our building would.
I think the courthouse security, the entire group said that they felt that this was a good idea. So.
It's not something we've always had, we've just never implemented it.
Right.
So we're just implementing this, making sure. I mean, a lot of it is for our attorneys and stuff like that. We don't have to undress them this way to get them through the security. Because they gotta take their belts off, they gotta take, if they have suspenders, they gotta take a tie tack, and they gotta take that thing off, because it's really that sensitive, so this way they show their badge, they get to go through with it. But every so often, they might be the one that gets screened and have to do that.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
So you'll send this, send it out to everybody after it's adopted?
100%. We'll use our NeoGov Learn system. It'll be assigned to everybody to sign off and acknowledge it. That means that they will require them to have a specific time frame in there to read the policy. And then I'll definitely include things like what prohibited items are listed, and just any other information regarding the security checkpoints in there.
Next item I have for you is lot number 5 out of Public Works. So we received an offer that's $50,000 over the appraised value, and would like to set up a public hearing to sell this piece of property.
I'm supportive.
As am I.
So just as a separate marker, I'll be bringing forward, hopefully be bringing forward information on lots 3 and 4 also.
So with that being said, since we had a head nod from the commissioners, can I sign that, the offer? It does not, because the offer says that it's still subject to. You're okay?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's the 3 and 4. We received an offer on 3, 4. It has like a 60-day contingency, but we talked about actually putting those back on the market during that 60 days. So we have the ability to accept.
Except for because he's have it rewritten up to say specifically this, and that'll come up as a contingent. And
Okay.
so when we have the new documentation, then they can look at it again, and then you'll tell me the next Monday if I could sign
Perfect.
that.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it was a unique process.
It is
we hadn't
unique.
been
We've
through
never
before.
done that in
Okay.
the 13 years we've been
So
here, so.
thank goodness we have Randy. All right, so that was all I had for you under the normal schedule. I do have an update for you. The commission asked me to go meet with the city of Bremerton to discuss the Belfair Sewer ILA. Actually, I had a meeting with Mayor Wheeler, and I think it's Ned. I think his last name is Leader. I'm sorry, Ned. Ned is, I believe, the Public Works Director. So I had a meeting with them to talk about some of the concerns that the commissioners had, possible opportunities that we'd like to discuss further regarding revenue sharing potential opportunities, or helping kind of understanding the limitations of what could be developed in the area that we're providing sewer to. So that discussion went okay. I didn't think the mayor was very interested in doing any of those things, but he would like to still come down and have a meeting with the commission. I'm looking to you all to say, normally when I have a government to government meeting, this would be something that I would say the city council would be included with the mayor, right? So would you like for me to set up an official meeting with the city of Bremerton, city council and mayor?
Well, yeah, if they're not interested in any of it, then, but at the same time, if we're gonna do it, it only makes sense to have it with the government to government, which is the city council and mayor.
Yeah, I would like it.
Yeah, I don't think he has the authority to do this unilaterally. So might as well meet with the whole city council.
I think it'd be great to have a conversation.
All right.
Be fun to meet them. Anything else?
Yep. Just taking notes, sorry. Yeah, I had a couple things come up on my plate, and so I sent to the commissioners information that I will have Mackenzie publish after the fact, but there's a couple other things that were out there that were of timeliness. There was a timeliness issue associated with them, and so I received them kind of late and wanted to make sure that the commissioners heard what I was hearing, and you guys can tell me how to move forward. So New Horizons has a proposal / request for some pre-development funding. So they are looking at purchasing the what has traditionally been the Community Lifeline building on Third Street. They're have conducted a preliminary feasibility study to create 14 studio apartments for supportive housing with a case manager position. Each one of the apartments would have a full bathroom and kitchenette, and housing is focused on individuals previously homeless or at risk of homelessness. So these 14 units would be focused on those individuals. They're asking the commissioners for $55,000 at this time to continue to do their study. When individuals ask for funds, I kind of look around and say what funds could potentially be available for this, because general fund is usually the last resort that we want to go to. So looked at Fund 117, there's 1406 funds, which is the Affordable Housing Sales Tax Credit. Again, this is a credit that we take out of all sales tax collected. It's actually a portion of the state's 6.5%. We collect it, and this one's unique because we actually collect it within the city and unincorporated. So we collect from both of those areas. We had about $500,000, I'm going to say approximately about $500,000 in this fund for this purpose. I reached out to public health, that's why you see public health staff sitting here, because as I looked through it, it looks like in order to use these funds, we would have to take it before the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, because and I'm assuming it's because we collect a portion of the cities also. And so this would be, it's kind of, you set a process up to say, go to the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, because they could look at it from that perspective, and it's not just independently with the commission all by yourselves. So my request to you is, I've provided you some additional information in the links to there. I gave you the preliminary feasibility study that they had and their budget, as well as the current ILA we have with the city of Shelton for these funds. And just wondering if you'd like to continue to move forward looking at this, and if so, bring it to the Behavioral Health Advisory Board or receive some direction.
Who wants to go first?
You this time. I can tell you're.
Well, I did have a conversation with some of the neighboring businesses around there. One thing I am concerned about too is in the, along with all my other concerns, they mention 115,000 from Mason County.
I tried to explain that in my write-up. So I think that this is a fairly fresh idea that they've been looking at. I think they did go end of 2024. They actually went out and did some work. They're looking for all the different areas that they could go to find funds to help out. And so originally, I think they looked at it as $115,000 coming from the county, but I believe that they actually received some other grants that could help cover some of those costs. So now the recent budget that I received is $55,000. So I
Did you say
believe
that
that
was
they
for a study though? Is that what it is?
preliminary feasibility study,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Sorry, just
That's okay.
to clarify for myself.
And Dave or Melissa, how much have we, so we did use CARES and ARPA funds.
Yeah, you guys. Thanks.
You're just looking for a reason. You can't get out of here fast enough. That was funny.
Yeah, they're like, Mark, you bring up all the fun talk to make us uncomfortable.
Ian, you can come up too if you want. You look so lonely back there. So how much have we, between ARPA and CARES, how much have we invested in
We
the
did,
building?
we did the water main and the sprinkler system for
330.
330, so we're altogether, we're probably into that for close to 400,000 for the improvements and things that we've done over the years.
Okay.
That's since
2020.
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
That was when they were required to tie into the city line for
Fire suppression.
fire suppression, that's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So that was while I was with Community Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Community life.
Right. And that was in conjunction with the city, because we had to expand that water line to a 6-inch main, and then,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I have concerns helping one nonprofit over another nonprofit with this amount of money. I think we're opening a door that we may or may not want to go into. I have other concerns too, but I'll limit my comments for a little bit. Who wants to go next?
Okay. I will, so for a study, I want to make that's part that always is going to get my attention. And that's why I wanted to make sure that's what we're talking about doing. Just taking money and sending it out for a study is not something I'm ever a fan of that way anyway. I've always said, and I've always been the same brick and mortar, this may be an opportunity for that, but I want to also point out that I know for sure how it's worked before in the past, because we have done this in the past. Homes First, I think you were here for some of that. Not one of our finest moments, not one of our finest investments that we've dealt with. So anytime you spend money, I think it should work, or we shouldn't be doing it. With that being said, I'd like to see what exactly it really looks like before I would ever want to give the people money away. What are we actually talking about? Just money for a study, that's money that could go away if the study doesn't work. It's just, could be nothing. I'd like to actually see what the whole proposal looks like for them, how it would actually benefit our community. But even more than that, I don't know how we have this communication without talking to the city. This is their backyard. This is their.
Cities included in these.
No, but I mean, with us, I'd like to hear them say, yes, we would like you guys to consider moving forward. We're gonna consider moving forward in this manner or this manner. I just think we're actually jumping in front of the city, and I don't think in this situation.
We're going parallel. So Mark Ziegler is also kind of given the same information at the same time, and I believe he was going to be talking with his city council around the same time about some of this stuff. So it's not it may be tomorrow night. I don't know the exact date.
Well, this is one of those situations where I think there is a pecking order, and we are not the top pecker on this one.
Okay.
I think it needs to be the city first, then tell us what they're thinking, what they want, and then us have a discussion. But again, for myself, I'd like to see the idea of just sending money out under a study. It doesn't make sense to me. I could have said it a lot worse.
This is,
The more I think about it, the worse it is.
I would tend to agree. I mean, as I read through the information you sent out, I was like, this is really, there's not a lot of details here. What are we getting for this $55,000? It's just like, oh, there's a line, it's a study. You know, that didn't, I couldn't get much from the spreadsheet you sent out, so I have a lot of questions still. Melissa and I talked about it a little bit, and it's like, okay, what does this mean? We're changing over from the community lifeline to now it's a bunch of hotel or apartments. So now we're gonna need parking spaces and
That was another of my concerns too.
you know, it's changing the whole thing. So that may be part of this study, but it's like,
Right. And I believe that was one of the concerns that a lot of the businesses had there too, is you've got 14 apartments, where are they gonna park?
and I agree with Randy. This is the city's. It's in the city. It's really up to the city.
Okay.
So
They just don't have the
change of
money.
use through city
Yeah.
permitting.
Yes,
I'll
which
be
we've
meeting
been
with,
there too.
Mark and I are meeting with the mayor
Okay.
and the other Mark this afternoon. Yes, this
So
afternoon.
we can catch up on
And
that.
this was on our agenda.
Yeah, it's so the tough ones that I receive are the ones that are like super short turnaround times associated with things, and so I don't want to. I want to make sure that I bring information to the commission. This is the avenue that I have to bring to the commission. If you guys,
I think you did fine. I got no
Oh,
issue
yeah,
with how you brought any of it
absolutely.
forward.
Nope, it's great.
My issue was with what I already have to look at. It has nothing to do with how you brought it forward. There's no way they could, it's still a study. That's what they're asking the money for. And again, in my opinion, the city should be the one that looks at this and says, you know what, I think this is a good project. Would you guys consider jumping on with us? And then we justify it through that process, not the other way around.
gotcha.
Cause I'm not sure it fits. You got
So-
parking, we've seen what happens when you have to do the permitting to change all that. So how much is that really gonna cost? Cause as we've seen also in the money we've already given to others, that changes drastically. We just had somebody visit us 2 weeks ago explaining that process and how we went from a couple $100,000 to well over 400,000.
Yeah.
So we can't just ignore that. But you did fine, Mark. It's nothing about what you did.
Yeah, that's fine. It was just, it is very preliminary.
Yeah,
There's a
and-
lot of unknowns out there, and when you read through the documentation, there's a, I mean, you never know what you're gonna run into when you go in and start modifying an older building, right? And so there's a bunch of questions out there. There's big blocks of funding that, that they're going after, or would be going after, associated with, providing this type of housing. So I tried to outline those within the information that I provided. So I do think it's
we already passed that.
it's money that they would need to continue along with their preliminary study. They did have official, like Forma came in and did the preliminary cost analysis, which is really a wild guess. And then they had somebody else come in and help them with some stuff too, but yeah.
You know, Mark, in buildings that are nowhere near as old as this, I've been a realtor for almost 20 years, around 20 years. I have a simple rule for my folks. If they send back an inspection report asking to open a wall, I tell them offer money. Never open a wall, because you never know what's going to be there. And they're not near as old as that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about asbestos.
There's no way there's not.
So I will wait until we hear back from the city, and then do you want me to bring this request back to you, or do you want me to tell New Horizons that we're not interested in?
Was this the one that you were talking about had May 1st
No,
deadline?
that was Zed's.
Okay.
Yeah, they have another deadline associated with submitting for a grant that's coming up, so.
I have no problem listening to it again if the city says they want to move forward and are asking us to consider it. But absent of them going first, I don't see how we would even consider it.
Alrighty, well, I will talk with the other Mark over at the city and kind of figure out when he's talking with his city council about it, so.
So would this be a change of use? Because if it is, don't they have to have hearings?
They have to
If
do a
there's a
lot
change.
to have a change of use like that, that's
But
turning into
but
apartments.
there's a difference between having an emergency shelter where people walk in, you know, and then permanent supportive housing, which is longer term, probably a higher barrier than the low barrier shelter. So, I mean, there's two different animals.
I think community lifetime is no barrier,
Right.
right?
So,
But again, you're gonna open walls, because you're gonna be creating apartments.
right. So there's gonna be.
There's a lot, there's no
It's
way that
substantial.
the city can just go, oh, no problem.
Right.
They just can't,
Yeah.
so, you know, again, I think it has to be them first and then tell us that they think they can even do it. I don't see how.
It's true, we have to have, 80% low barrier in our, so this is gonna subtract from our low barrier. So it's gonna force us into a different,
Well, actually, the county is not required to have a shelter.
Only to enforce certain laws, though, you do.
Right.
Alright, I'll reach out to the city and see what they have to say about it, and then if they're interested, I will bring it back to you, and I think the city was kind of looking at that 1406 money as, you know, we kind of have a buy-in here because you collect this for us, and then we go to the BHRA as kind of this independent body to say, you know, could you, assuming that you're actually on that board, so that they would say this is a project the city is also interested in and would like to use. Okay.
You know, one of the things we looked at years ago, and I was very much in the middle of it, and we were looking at Pantorum cleaners. Now, one of the things it would take is a partnership with the port, because they can get Browns filled in order to clean things up, but to create not just that type of low barrier, but to create a hostel where all they had to do was go around and pick up trash, and they can get certificates to stay there overnight from certain businesses and stuff. That's pretty low barrier, but have it be more than just anybody who walks in the door. They had to do something in order to get it, and you can still rent out hostel space because it was different size. There's a lot of things that went into consideration of that. it may be a good idea for them to consider also when they're looking at different options on how to do it.
Yep, I remember, man, I've been down that road, and in order for me to feed my kids, I had to do community service. And so, I wish we could bring that back.
So for low barrier, the other side of that is the not active users. There's three things, right? There's non-active users. Let me answer the big one.
Yeah.
Right. No on-site drug use, no on-site alcohol use.
Yeah.
But we don't have, even for the laws, we don't have to provide no barrier at all though, because there's still always gonna be barriers on people that are losing their stuff, you know, wanting to shoot up as they're walking in the door, they can't stay. There's always some type of barrier, just which ones would ever equate to being able to still enforce
Well,
laws.
there's some places, you know, some of the charities in Seattle, for example, like Olympia, have no barrier. You come in whatever state you're in, you know, that's one thing. This would be a different thing.
No, I was actually piggybacking on what Commissioner Pat was talking about. In order for us to enforce certain laws, we do have to offer, but we may use the term no barrier, but I don't think it's no barrier. We need to find out what that is, because we need to hold to the strictest standard if we do anything. In my opinion, I'm not a fan of just throwing it out there and say, come on in, and you don't have to earn it at all.
No.
You don't have to do anything. You can keep shooting up on your arm as you're walking through the door. I need more than that personally.
Okay.
Alrighty, so come back to you on that one. I did notice that we have some New Horizon folks on here, if you had any other questions for them, but normally we don't include other people. Okay.
Not at this time.
Alrighty, and then the next item that I provided to you is an issue that I'm having over in our public defender's office. So we lost Peter Jones. He left the county here about a month ago. We've been actively advertising and looking for a replacement for Peter. I also do not. I'm
Sorry. Hey, are you guys playing footsies?
No, I just kicked her.
I gotta tell you, a minute ago, she was being blocked, and I saw her little shoes. They were, the bottom of her shoes are gray, and they were up like this, little points. I thought, we got a German Shepherd over there. Because it looked like the German Shepherd here was going like this, because she had him up the air, she was going like this for some reason. Stretching, I guess.
I was.
Yeah.
So I've got a, so the other issue I have is I really don't have any felony attorneys right now. So when I say don't have any, I don't have any in-house felony attorneys. We are contracting out. Maggie Houston has done an amazing job of juggling the contracts that we have for felony attorneys. She's reached out to try and find other felony attorneys that might be available. We are at critical mass right now. We have about 100 felony cases that have not been assigned to an attorney. We have daily preliminary hearings in our Superior Court that individuals that we've arrested are required to have the presence of an attorney, a qualified attorney, with them in that preliminary hearing. So I think there's about 14, I'm learning more and more about court systems and rules because I've spoke with our neighboring county, Thurston County, to see if he had any additional resources or if I could even use some of his staff. I've talked with the director and staff at the Office of Public Defense, which is a state agency. They would love to come down and help us, but legally they can't right now because the state law does not allow them to practice within the communities. If they were able to, which if we could get that changed in the last week, or I guess if they're going in special session, maybe we've got another 30 days to add a new topic.
Yeah,
but
I think it'll be 135.
okay, so so it'd be nice to open that up and actually have them available because they are right in Olympia and they would love to or be willing to come down and assist on some of these things. They've been super supportive in terms of giving me additional information about where I could advertise that things that I could, different publications that are out there that I'm gonna make sure that we are advertising in. They're through word of mouth, really talking with individuals in the area to say, hey, if you have any additional felony attorneys that are available, please reach out to Mason County. We currently pay $125 an hour for an individual assigned to a felony case. What I'm asking the board for in this request is that give me some flexibility for a specific period of time, and I'm defining May 1st through August 31st right now, to increase that rate from 125 up to maybe $175 an hour. Because I'm concerned that we're gonna get to a point where we don't have, if we have to let somebody out of jail that shouldn't be let out of jail because we don't have an attorney that is available. I just don't want to get to that point. So if I have a little bit more money, maybe that could help me convince some people to dedicate their case. I have talked with our jail, and learning about resources we have in our jail too. So we actually have the ability for attorneys to meet remotely with inmates that are in our jail. They each have tablets, they're able to schedule meetings, they can meet with them privately, they can get a private room to meet in, so I can hopefully cast out a little bit wider of a net in terms of geographically looking for attorneys, because they wouldn't have to actually drive down here just to meet with their client. Our Superior Court has been really open to having video court proceedings, so maybe those individuals could even not only meet with their clients remotely, but also attend the trials remotely. So we're kind of looking for anything I have interviewed a couple of people. The first one we really loved, but she backed out at the end, was not interested in it. I interviewed another individual that is actually the owner of a nonprofit down in Vancouver, but we contract with that nonprofit, so our conflict of interest policies would not allow me to employ her, and she doesn't want to get out of her nonprofit. And I have another one coming up this next week that I'm hopeful, but we're still trying.
Recommendation, you already have the authority to make contracts up to $50,000. If you look at just the change difference of $50 an hour, I think you're within your process, being allowed to go out and make something happen immediately with the head nod of all three of us right now, if we decide to give you that. With that, I think you're within your ability to go out and make those deals, make those contracts. I think you'd want to come back to us for not just advice and consent, but to actually bring up the new policy up to say what it needs to say, and you can bring that up to us at the regular meeting. But I believe you're within your abilities with the head nod from all of us to move forward right now.
So our rates are actually set by the commissioners.
Yep.
I don't have the ability to change
No,
those
but we
rates.
can give you the head nod to allow you to enter into those contracts up to $50,000. We gave you that authority. That's one of the things we actually gave you the ability to do. And I think unless one of us objects, which I don't see it. Pat, are you comfortable with that?
Oh, no, we've got to do something. This is getting to be critical. We can't start letting people go just because we can't provide public defense, so we've got to do something.
Okay.
So in this emergency situation, I think you have our advice and consent on that, and I think we're asking you to move forward and then bring us the finished product for our next meeting if you can, so we can go ahead and codify it, and then you're not even at risk. You're not at risk now because we're saying to empower you to move forward.
Oh, I would definitely want this one in writing, so I
Yes.
will put something
So
together.
you can have
for
it
that.
maybe for our next meeting.
Yep.
And there we go. Appreciate all the hard work you've done on this, and this is a hard situation to be in, but you will figure it out. You always do.
Well, yeah, it's not nearly as hard as me as it is on the individuals within our current public defense office, and so
Pretty amazing.
we've lost or in the process of losing an additional employee over there that works up front that is just can't handle all the stress associated with it. So I'm hopeful that Maggie.
Let's
is able to hang
back
on.
back up on that one for a second, because I got a question for us. We have a situation here where this person doesn't, is she on there, Mary? Mary. Hi, Mary, are you around? Okay.
Eating lunch, but yeah.
Do we have the authority as a commission to allow an interim that does not meet all the specifications to serve as an interim?
You mean front desk person?
More that legal secretary position?
No, for the chief public defender position.
Just to serve as an interim, so this way they can be paid accordingly.
Technically, no. They need to meet all the min quals. However,
For an interim?
I would think so. Just because of
yeah,
the
same thing when
liabilities.
you've had public works, you've had interim directors up there, they've all met min quals. That's why you didn't have one over in HR, you didn't have someone who met all the quals or was making that level of work. Is your thought to make one of the positions over there an interim or to
Yes.
hire an interim?
Nope, to make that one position an interim that's already doing the work in order to strengthen our foundation that we have left.
So the problem is out of class pay doesn't even apply because one, min quals aren't met, and two, a lot of the essential functions of the chief public defender is to carry a significant caseload. And if you don't have a JD, you can't do that.
Well, please consider some other option. I'm thinking back to my tapes in my head, and I know that there's been times where interims do not meet the minimum things we're asking for, but it doesn't mean that, you're right, you're the one in charge of it, it's HR. So, but if you see an option, now's the time to find it and to come up with it in order to keep what we have.
Okay, I can do some brainstorming.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, all right, that's all I had.
Well, I asked Dave and Ian to come over because had some people reaching out about code violations. So I just wanted you guys to let us know your process, how, from beginning to end. I know there's different scenarios.
From the standpoint of, like, we receive a call, receive a complaint, okay. Yeah, so we are complaint driven, so we don't survey for issues. If we're out and about and we see something really egregious, we will open a case. But for the most part, we are complaint driven. So that requires someone to call us and have either an address, ordinance, or a parcel number to provide us to open that complaint. We need at least one of those three things to open a complaint. They can't just say, I saw this thing and it's on 302. We require that amount of information and a description of what they see. They can be anonymous or they can be known. If they are anonymous, then we can't provide them updates on the complaint. We can't tell them what progress we're making with the case. They'd have to do a records request like anyone else would. So we get that complaint and we usually get out to the site within 30 days for most of our complaints. And we do our investigation. If we can see it from the public right away, then those are very easy to gather information on. If we have access issues, like we can't get on the property or we can't get past a gate with no trespassing sign or something like that, we have to try to arrange alternate means of viewing the property. Could be through a neighbor's property, but in general, we're trying to get on the property and meet with the person and talk to them. But most of the time, it just starts with going to the property, going to the house, knocking on the door, and trying to have a conversation. We do our investigation. Depending on the type of violation, if it's a sewage issue, those are much shorter turnaround times. Could be we're ordering someone to do something within 24 hours in some cases, or it could be something that they have a month or two to get taken care of. If it's a minor issue that's not a public health threat and they need to get permits to get it done, it could be more time consuming. Solid waste, we usually have longer time periods for that. We could be giving someone up to 6 months to get a solid waste cleanup done. But again, that varies. If they've got trash going onto other people's properties, that can kind of escalate that a little bit. I don't know how detailed you want me to get here, but if we have a situation where the person is not complying, everyone gets a notice of an order, which is a formal order. They have to correct the violation with a time period. If they are not complying with that time period, our first stop is usually infractions, so issuing fines. And if those, the person can appeal those fines, and if it's appealed, it goes in front of a judge over the district court. But if they don't appeal those fines, it's considered committed, and then we can issue them the next higher level of fines. And we can just do that forever, we can do that daily, until the violation is corrected. Some situations that doesn't work very well because the person doesn't care about fines that get sent to collections. They don't, if they're not in that situation where that type of pressure works with them. So another option is the hearing examiner, but I've mentioned in previous meetings, the hearing examiner costs, I think around, on average, $3,000 to the hearing examiner for each property. But through the hearing examiner, we can put liens on the property, and we could eventually take the property from them if we decide to go that route. We have not used that method yet, but that is one option. Most of our cases get resolved, and even the bad situations get resolved with the infractions method. But we do have those cases out there that just infractions are not effective.
How often do you guys talk about the code violations within your office?
Like Todd was talking, not Todd, Josh was talking this morning, like Ethan. So Josh was talking this morning. We do a every other week coordination session with building planning, but
And Orca, sometimes with fire
some
department as well.
right. But our code enforcement folks are in Ian's office or my office daily. So there's constant coordination back and forth between different elements within environmental health, which is typically the Title VI code is environmental health. Differs from the other codes that Josh was mentioning this morning and there's two different lines of authority, just kind of as a background. So Title VI comes to the health department, who gets its authority through the Board of Health, State Board of Health, and the Secretary of Health. Okay, and that comes down through the state constitution. Building planning permitting comes down through the county lines of authority, so they're a little bit different. Just kind of a detail, but it's kind of an important detail when it comes to how the cases get resolved. So like just our last Board of Health meeting, we had a person who appealed to the Board of Health, and that's the correct process. If they don't like the decision that we make, they can appeal to the Board of Health, and the Board of Health makes that decision. But in some of these solid waste things, it gets complicated, and there's many different things involved. So we have solid waste, and typically if there is a solid waste complaint, then there's RVs or other things that all roll together. So those are the ones that take more coordination between us and building planning.
Okay.
I've actually got to attend a few of those meetings. They're super productive. The team works really well together to kind of attack a problem from multiple angles, and they let each other know specific issues or items that come up out on those properties. So I feel like
to include the personalities involved and things to be aware of when we're going out to the properties.
Right. Okay. I appreciate that. I've just been asked because it's so obvious, right? When we're out in our communities, you see those, and then.
And we've got court cases happening. We had a court case that got resolved on Friday. So there are things that can go to court, and that can happen.
Court cases where they make a decision.
Right.
Resolution is yet to be determined.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, right.
I mean, we did have one that went to jail for 30 days in July in 2019, I think. So it was given a court order to cease and desist, did not, and
We
went to
almost
jail for a
had
month.
one for contempt Friday.
Yeah.
It was close.
I think that's difficult sometimes, right, from a public perspective, because we go through this process. And to actually get to where we are now on the one that happened on Friday, how long have we been communicating with this property owner?
Years.
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
So government.
So that actually,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah.
But and I don't think that's
That one's an
normal.
especially complicated
It
situation.
is. So I think that, but it can be years in order for us to actually take it all the way through, right?
Right. So for example, you have some really complicated properties, and we just are working with one that has two properties next to each other, but it's really kind of the same mess across both, two different owners. We could find one owner, couldn't find the other owner. We finally found the other owner, and out of state, and they're just now getting that person lined up to work with us. So it can be very complicated. And then you have cases where people will, how do I put it? They're invited onto the property, they start misbehaving, and then if the property owner has an extremely hard time getting them off the property. And that is not a public health issue, that's a civil issue.
Right.
So,
Can it turn into a public health
the
issue?
violation is a public health
Okay.
issue. But how that gets resolved between the homeowner, landowner, let's say landowner, because we have commercial folks out there that have people squatting their properties and making messes as well. And typically we address it with the landowner. That's who gets the violation.
But it still depends on how much we choose to get involved and what we expect. Just to give you a heads up, we may or may not, we haven't made the decision or anything yet, but it's been a request from myself, and I think they were agreeing, but we'll find out later, to bring you guys in together to with the two departments to perhaps look at what it would look like if we put together a list, and each week you show us what we've gotten done on those to move down the list and get some of these things taken care of with the direction from the commission that we want this to be looked at and stuff. And we don't know what that looks like yet. I'm just giving you a heads up because we did discuss it at earlier, which
Yeah,
you're
we were
probably
listening.
watching, yeah.
If I have one suggestion for you, if you move forward on that idea, my only suggestion would be to make your process impartial and non-arbitrary. So you don't want the properties that are on the list to be on the list because we get the most calls for them, or because,
Actually, you just said yourself, you go out according to complaint, the same thing. We'd be holding ourselves to the same standard that you just said to hold yourself to. We get complaints.
I got you, just let me finish one second. So what I'm saying is, if you get complaints on one property because everyone in the neighborhood doesn't like that person,
yeah,
it can make it biased. So if you're gonna have a process to create a list of properties that you're hyper attentive to, it should be because of the significant public health risk of those properties, not because of those other reasons. That's just my suggestion.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Okay.
I agree with that completely, but there are a significant number of properties that are, we have no shortage of those currently.
When I first got here, I think I had 1,800 open cases when I first got here.
Yeah, the sheriff's office says, oh, just come we'll take you up in the plane. You
Yeah,
can see
and
them all.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Anything else?
The only other thing I have is, next Monday I'm having my surgery, and I'll be out for minimum of 2 weeks. And we'll see how I negotiate with the surgeon after that as to when I can come back to work. So.
It's about time you got that fixed, that mental problem.
Yeah, just use it.
Yeah, so if you need anything done in public health, just come to me. We'll get it done while Dave's gone.
Thanks, Dave.
See what he can come back to, right?
Yeah. So, we're coordinating with the staff to get, those things looked at, so it's I'm hoping 2 weeks. So,
Me too.
but then I'll be lefty after that, I'll be like,
These two.
I'll be like Pat running around here with my sling on. And so the cast is gonna take, they said 2 months. So.
Well, then you have a weapon.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all I have.
So, I do have something else. It's not for you guys. You could go
Okay.
ahead and read this.
Thank you, guys.
This is for us. It's, comes out of Fire District 12. They're looking for some help. And I'm not exactly sure how we can do this. They have bills going through the Secretary of State's, state auditor's office. And they're hoping for like $40,000 to help with that expense. I don't see that we have that in our capability of giving them $40,000, but just a way to discuss this. You guys know more about how we can remedy these sort of things, but you know, I know we loan money to school districts when they can't make payroll or something like that. That may be, there may be some opportunity there, but
It's funny because we actually can't loan them money by law. We can't extend our credit. So what we do, I never thought of until you just said it, but that is what we do. But we're not supposed to do that, but that is a provision that's set up by law to allow for us to warrant out their stuff. But yeah, it's funny. I never caught that until just now. We can, and we can do it out of our general fund. The thing about this particular situation, why I'd be so supportive, we all know what they just went through. We know how close it was to complete collapse. I think if you were able to help them in this way, Pat, I think this is money well spent for us to keep us from having to spend more money later. Because literally, they came back from the brink of death.
They're awesome.
This can help make a difference, especially since I hope they choose not to go for a levy lift if they're able to do this, but that's not my gig, it's not my barbecue. But I'd be if you want to put that forward, Pat, I would be supportive, and I think this is one time where it's money well spent.
well, they are working on a levy
Yeah.
lift, and it's a pretty extensive one, but you know, they have put such effort into
Come a long way.
coming back from the ashes of disaster. I've talked to Mark about it, and he's doing some investigating into other avenues. But it's just something to bring up, because I know they need the help. If they get the levy increase that they want, that's gonna help them out drastically. They wouldn't have any problem paying it back if they get that, but if they don't get it, I don't know how they'll pay it back.
Yeah, I don't know that we can do that though, because we can't extend the county's credit. That's the one thing I do know. But we can't take it out of REIT. I don't see any correlation between REIT. I don't see economic development for '09. I don't see anywhere but the general fund. But again,
I was thinking.
in order to save them, I don't see there's anything. Huh?
When Pat and I were talking about it, my question was really more of a question to the state auditor's office. So I reached out to some individuals that I know there to see, you know, gosh, why wouldn't you give them, you know, do you have any type of forgiveness program in terms of some of these bills, especially for a situation like this where you had to completely go through a brand new administration, bring on new people, and then move forward. And if they didn't have any type of forgiveness on the bill side of things, then could you actually at least create a payment plan for them to pay it over a period of time and not have to just pay it all up, you know, right now within 30 or 60 days or whatever they're asking them to. But
I think even if we did this, they're still gonna come up with 40K or so. So again, I'll leave it up to you, Pat, it's your district. If you wanna move it forward, I will support it.
Seems to me there's got to be grants out there also.
yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, especially in terms of grants to help you cover your audit costs that kind of had a bunch of findings and yeah.
This is one of those worst case scenarios.
Yeah, this is definitely one that has a unique.
And hopefully we never see it again. So we did see it, it's there.
I did talk to Lisa about this, Lisa Frazier, our treasurer, and she said, yeah, we could probably set something up like we do with the school districts, but what we need to do is see their ability to repay it. The special reason it works so well with the state or with the schools is because they have state funding coming in. But her thought process was that potentially we collect their property tax portion of it, so we would have some control over paying it back that way. But they don't have a lot of property taxes to
Right.
get it from. So
Yeah, if we can find the funds, I'd love to help.
Yeah, so it's up to you, Pat. It sounds like you've got 3 if you decide to put it forward.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly what we're putting forward here, whether we can do it as a loan or whether we can do it as a,
I'm supportive of putting it forward as out of the general fund.
Well, and then if you can continue your conversation with the state auditor's office.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll look at a few other avenues, but I'll move it forward when we know a little bit more about what we can do, what we need to do.
And the reason why I say that even if we did it under a general warrant, the expectation when we do a warrant is that it gets paid immediately.
A registered one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, an interfund loan is something we have a hard enough time doing it with ourselves, let alone doing it with an outside entity. I don't know that we've done that. But again, like I said, I would be supportive of the other, especially because I know they're under the gun. If this would save them this time, I think they are completely different than anything they were before. I think
Oh, yeah,
if we
for
can keep
sure.
them from sinking, they're gonna be fine for the next 20 years. But we gotta maybe sometimes help keep them from sinking, that's all. Oh, I got it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Guys.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, we've got our calendar updates real quick. And since I wasn't here Tuesday, thank you guys for taking over and doing such an outstanding job. It was Friday night. Yeah, Friday night. Yeah, Wild Irish. They had a celebration. It was kind of cool seeing you there in your little duster jacket. And for the Paul Revere's ride.
250th anniversary.
Yeah, so we were there. No business was conducted. But it was kind of cool to see the community out supporting, and Ted and Jason played probably the most important role. They were horse hooves.
Horse
Horse
hooves.
hooves. Exactly.
Oh.
That's actually pretty funny.
That was hilarious.
That's what I did. That was my role. I was horse hoof.
Yeah, it was funny. But other than my normal meetings, I don't have a whole lot. I mean, busy calendar, but not a whole lot going on, except for city county meeting at 3,
Mhm.
and then Memorial Hall meeting at 4 today.
City county meeting with you guys, right?
Just the-
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not, just
Chair
wanna make sure
and-
because I didn't have that on my calendar. I was like,
Chair, mayor, and
Cool.
administrators.
The only thing I have I can add on there is I may or may not, if it happens, I don't know if it's gonna happen, that sewer thing at the Republicans. I will attend if it happens.
I'm not doing that. We are spreading ashes that day, so.
I'm heading over to Wenatchee. Have a budget training, newly elected commissioner training by WASAC for budgeting on Wednesday. I'm gonna go over early because I'm gonna go meet with some people in the Chelan PUD about their fusion reactors. They're buying one over there.
So cool.
And if you get a chance to meet their county commissioner, if you haven't already, he's pretty spectacular.
It's pretty cool. He might even be at the
Yeah.
WASAC event.
He's
I
very
bet he
active,
will.
very smart.
Yeah.
He thinks outside the box.
He's a good
I
guy.
like the way he thinks.
So I'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I'll be back Thursday.
Okay.
And is anybody scheduled for the ICS training this week?
No.
Okay, so I'm
I'm
gonna
not
be,
anyway.
I'm working this week, I'm just
What
gonna be
day?
out at ICS training, it starts tomorrow.
3 days.
And it goes
3
for 3
days?
days, yeah.
I don't think I have that.
Yeah.
Do I have to have it?
Well,
I have to.
it's, I think that in my position, I definitely need to have it.
But no, but you
in case
definitely need
of
to have
emergency.
somebody there.
But not us.
That's,
Yeah, because
hopefully.
they offered it already to all of us.
They did.
And so,
But do you think we need to have somebody there? What I'm asking is,
No.
should I be dropping stuff or?
I don't think so.
Then I don't want to.
What does ICS stand for?
Incident command structure, so it's part of the FEMA, training
We
that
both done it.
requires us to
mhm.
have
Couple of
certain
times.
certifications in order to play roles within an emergency response.
I asked John about that, and he says, no, you
Okay.
don't need to be there. So, okay. If I don't need to be there, I won't.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Or adjourned?